That part. Kevin told you he wasn't gonna wear no dress until they offered him the dress, and then he put it on. And what did he say after he wore it? I made my own decision. Duh. But you didn't make it before they brought it up, did you? It's okay. All right.
Kevin doesn't have to worry about what people are going to say about him wearing a dress because of the long line of dress-wearing people before him. So
my frustration with Katt Williams comes from, you keep pointing at Hollywood. Hollywood this, the white man, this and this. When do you take responsibility for your actions?
Kevin Hart is firing back at Katt Williams after Katt's bombshell interview with Shannon Sharpe, where he exposed Kevin's alleged gay affairs with Illuminati elites in an exposed Kevin called Katt Angry, saying he ought to let go of his anger, one way or another, but that was after Katt sat down with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay and called out elites in the comedy industry for not being funny and taking shortcuts to get to the top. He also called out Kevin Hart and others for gatekeeping, selling their souls and engaging in gay rituals for fame. Katt's scathing remark sparked controversy on social media, and many of the comics he called out have fired back at him, calling him an attention seeker. But Kevin's response is the most interesting because Katt and Kevin have been at each other's throats for decades. But what exactly did Katt say about Kevin's alleged gay affairs? And how did Kevin respond to the whole thing? Let's break it down.
Do you know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job.
Katt Williams recently sat down with Shannon Sharpe for an episode of the podcast series Club Shay, and his comments in that interview have the entire comedy industry shaking in their boots, as it now has almost 40 million views. In the interview, Katt called out comedians for buying their way to the top either through selling their soul or stepping on others to get ahead in typical Katt Williams fashion. No one was safe from catching strays when he started going off, and Katt basically drew a battle line. New with the entire comedy industry, he called out everyone from Kevin Hart and Steve Harvey to Ricky Smiley, Cedric the Entertainer, and Faison for lacking comedy talent. He also called them lazy and unfunny, saying these guys took shortcuts to get to where they are in their respective careers. One up. The first comedians Katt called out was Ricky Smiley, and he had a lot to say about him. Katt exposed Ricky as a liar, saying he had no acting talent. Katt's beef with Ricky started because Ricky claimed he was initially cast for the role of Money Mike, which Katt pointed out was an outright lie. For context, Friday After Next is a comedy drama featuring many comedians, including Katt, who played the role of Money Mike. Now, according to Katt, he had an issue with the initial movie script because it contained a scene where Money Mike got essayed in the bathroom, which Katt felt was unnecessary for a supposed comedy movie. Katt pointed out that nothing about essay is funny, no matter the circumstances or the people involved, and it shouldn't even have been included in the script in the first place. He said he had to appeal to the movie directors to let him rewrite the script, promising he would make it 10 times funnier if the ESS scene were not included. The lesson Katt was trying to bring out of this incident was that several black male entertainers like Ricky Smiley were on the film crew, but they saw nothing wrong with the scene where a black man got aid, and this points to a much bigger problem in the industry, which involves black men being assayed and victimized by industry elites. Katt said he was so pissed off about Ricky's actions that he made sure it was included in his contract that he would never work with Ricky again unless Ricky were in essence true to form. Ricky wore a dress in his next movie. First Sunday, Smiley responded to Katt the day after the interview was released, maintaining his previous stance. Ricky clarified that the essay scene wasn't included in the script until Katt was given the rough. He also emphasized that he had no hard feelings towards Katt, and it's all love from his side. But Katt was not feeling nice at all because he didn't stop at Ricky Smiley in that interview. He also had smoke for Steve Harvey, whom he believed was just as talentless as the rest of the industry. He dragged Steve for always claiming the reason why he quit stand-up comedy was that he already had 7 TV shows when he didn't.
He stopped doing stand-up because he had 7 TV shows. The only problem is when he stopped stand-up, he didn't have those 7 TV shows. He stopped stand-up because he got in a comedy battle called the Championship of Stand-Up Comedy with one Katt Williams in Detroit in front of 10,000 people and lost because Katt Williams said he was actually bald and that was a wig. And I went in, and that's why he couldn't do stand-up anymore. Imagine him coming to tell you another story where he got so big and it was Bernie and them's fault because they wanted to be movie stars.
Katt said the real reason why Steve quit stand-up comedy was that Katt humiliated Steve when they got into a comedy battle called the Championship of Stand-Up Comedy by exposing Steve's baldness in front of 10,000 people. Then Katt called out Cedric the Entertainer for stealing his jokes back in 98 at the time. Cedric allegedly thought Katt was a no-name comedian whom he could steal jokes from without anybody noticing, but the twist was Katt had already performed the joke on BET's Comic View twice, and it had done so well that it got him a standing ovation, and they made it part of a commercial. Cedric even allegedly went backstage after the show to congratulate him on such a great performance, and then 2 years later, Cedric performed the same joke for B-Time, only changing the word car to spaceship. And then when Katt confronted Cedric about it, he said the timeline of when they both told the jokes didn't line up, so he couldn't have stolen Katt's joke. Katt then pointed out that some of the elites in the comedy industry have formed a cabal that tries to bring anyone down who doesn't suck up to them, and the comics he mentioned like Steve, Ricky, and Cedric are some of the members of that cabal. But he was not quite done with calling out comedians because he then focused on Kevin Hart, calling him an industry plant. Katt Williams pointed out that Kevin Hart's come-up story just didn't add up because Kevin didn't have a successful career as a comic before he started getting major TV deals.
In 15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show, there being a line for him ever getting a standing ovation at any comedy club. He already had his deals when he got here.
On top of that, in Kevin's documentary with Chris Rock, Kevin apparently claimed his comedy upbringing was on the East Coast, so it seemed sus for him to simultaneously claim he was in Los Angeles the whole time. According to Katt, the reason is that Kevin already had his deals before coming into Hollywood because he sold his soul to Hollywood elites, and in exchange those people put him there as an industry plant. Katt has always had a problem with what he sees as Kevin's lack of standards in the interview. He pointed out that Kevin said he wasn't going to wear a dress on TV until they offered him a dress, and then he put it on and claimed he had made his own decision even though he didn't think about making that decision before the industry made him to. Katt has previously talked about that trend of black male actors being forced to wear dresses on TV, saying it was part of the Hollywood goal to emasculate black men, and Katt isn't the only person who shares this belief because Dave Chappelle previously addressed this matter in 2006 when he appeared on The Oprah Show. In that episode, Dave revealed that he didn't start connecting the dots about Hollywood's emasculation of black men until he was given a role in a movie he starred in alongside Martin Lawrence where he had to wear a dress. Even after he told the producers that he felt wearing a dress was not relevant to the scene, they just kept pressuring him while reminding him that all the greats had done it as if it was some rite of passage. They didn't leave him alone until they realized he would not wear the dress. Dave then explained that the issue was not about the dress itself. The problem was with how the industry tried to push black male artists into a corner to see how far they were willing to degrade themselves for money and fame. That's why, according to Dave, he once turned down a $50 million deal from Comedy Central because he knew he could accept that money without giving up a certain part of himself. He also talked about how the big media companies were offering him money to write sketches that made people laugh at him, not with him. Like if he didn't do something to humiliate himself, he wouldn't be allowed to get rich and famous now. Now, when Kevin Hart was asked to comment on Dave's claims that black men were being forced to humiliate themselves for money in 2012, he said it's important for artists to protect their brand and not cross their boundaries on the issue of wearing a dress. He didn't exactly say he wouldn't wear a dress, but he said he had never had to cross any lines, and his personal beliefs had never been challenged up to that point, adding that he would never do something he didn't want to do just for money. But just a year later, Kevin appeared on an SNL skit wearing a dress. Understandably, this resulted in serious backlash from fans who accused him of being a sellout and being fake because he was perpetuating the Hollywood emasculation of black men. Katt would later address this issue in an interview with Black Tree, where he pointed out that Kevin Hart was not special for being asked to wear a dress because so many black men before him have been asked to do the same. Take Mata, for example. Katt believed it was Kevin's turn to go through the ritual the industry makes black men go through and respond. Kevin Hart went on The Breakfast Club and slammed Katt for blaming his problems on Hollywood and his colleagues, but never taking responsibility for his actions, and Fixing Up Kevin claimed that the real reason why Katt wasn't mainstream was that he chose drugs over his career and refused to put in the work when other comedians were doing so, and that's why big labels didn't want to have anything to do with him. Katt responded to that in this recent interview on Club Shay by saying he doesn't have an alcohol or substance problem and he is always in his right mind. But Kevin wouldn't know that because over the last 25 years,